vibe, baby.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm your host, of course, Joe. And today I'm grateful to introduce Derrick G. Derrick's been sober since July 18th, 2020. He's married to his lovely wife, Mary Margaret, a relationship built on a strong foundation of friendship before becoming partners in life. The youngest of three with two older sisters, Derrick is a proud dad to his son Caleb, also known as Monsta, a devoted bonus dad to Jackson, aka the president, Bella, Southern, and Walker, Dubba Dub. I think Dubba Dub may be my favorite. Family is clearly at the heart of his story. Derrick loves traveling, fishing, taking in plays and concerts, and most importantly, working with other alcoholics. He describes himself as someone who gives love big and who's learned how to find peace, even joy, in uncomfortable places and tough seasons. His journey is a powerful reminder that recovery isn't about avoiding discomfort, but learning how to live fully through it. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Hey, Derrick, how you doing today?
Hey, Joe, Y5, man. A virtual high five.
A virtual high five. We are high-fiving through the screen. Thank you so much for your willingness to come on the show. It means a lot.
Well, thank you for the invitation, man. I'm excited, man. I feel the good energy coming through. So
Cool.
Yeah.
That's well, I will say Derrick is in Atlanta and I am in Tennessee. And Derrick was telling me before we got started that he just got back from Nashville and he has picked up the banjo. I won't want to say anything about Tennessee, but the banjo is a pretty popular instrument in these parts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's so popular that like it motivated me. It was like I never in life thought about picking up the banjo, but seeing the energy and the good time had with it, I was like, well, I think I found what I've been missing in my whole life: the banjo.
Who knew? Who knew? Well, that's pretty cool. Anyway, so. Well, what was it like growing up, Derrick?
So growing up, Derrick, it was interesting actually. I definitely, yeah, for the longest, it was difficult to describe until I got in recovery, and it just very uncomfortable in my own skin. I was a kind of a chubby kid growing up. Kind of looked like what do you call Xavier Robinson's Cabbage Patch Kids? Yeah, I look like a little Cabbage Patch Kid with dimples, and my mom, she raised me. My dad's Seminole, and my mom's Creek. So I come from an indigenous family, and my mom ruled with an iron fist, and it took me to get into recovery to kind of appreciate that and see kind of where she was going. Especially, this time of the year, I really appreciate that type of direction. But as a kid, it was rough. It was so rough. My mom, she suffered from alcoholism as well. And if you grew up with an alcoholic parent, you kind of can imagine if you had never experienced that. What it felt like to kind of walk around on eggshells. I learned real quick how to that it was better to lie than tell the truth. So I started writing that constitution of lying as a kid. I can remember a time me and sister were called into the office, and there was this lady sitting in there, and we didn't know who the lady was. And she asked us, she was from Child Protective Services, and she asked us, like, did you eat dinner last night? And a series of questions like that. And of course, we looked at each other and we were like, yeah, we ate dinner. Yeah, we ate dinner, and knowing we didn't eat dinner the night before. So it was that kind of experience, just kind of rough and kind of fitting in. My mom's strong disciplinarian. Her best response to anything that I did that she didn't like was, go give me that extension cord, you know. So there was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, and then on top of that, she wanted me to be cultured, you know. So she was like, "You're gonna play something," and and I was like, "Oh, maybe I could play football." Chubby kid. I could play football, or basketball. No, I'm not tall enough. Don't got enough coordination. And she was like, "No, you're playing the cello." So again, you talk about, first of all, I had that target on me as being a Cabbage Patch Kid. Now I'm a Cabbage Patch Kid in some of the most violent streets of Dallas, Texas, walking with a cello. Yeah, there you go. I'm sure everybody out there is what that looks like.
That's
So,
that's a vivid picture. That's a
yeah,
vivid picture. And, when you're talking about how we, even early on, you learn to kind of lie and cover up about your circumstances. You know, I don't think we realize the kind of impact that has on a kid. I can only imagine. You know.
yeah. Especially when you find this dissonance between the world celebrating, you know, uh, a parent. I don't know if many people experience this, but the world will celebrate a parent, and you come home and you see a different version of that parent. You kind of internalize that as you're the one that's wrong. You're the bad one because everybody else is saying this version or talking about this idea of the parent while you're experiencing something different. So you kind of internalize that. Um, and again, it definitely makes for some type of escape. You know, you look for some type of out, like, where do I fit in? Where can I get away? Where can I go and not be this person I feel like I am on the inside? So, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So speaking of escapes, do you remember the first time you felt the effects of like alcohol or drugs?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, and I really describe it like this because this to me was perfect for it. I got at the growing up at the age of 14, a bittersweet moment happened actually, and that bittersweet moment was my mom died of breast cancer. And I remember just that feeling of, whew, wow, I don't have to take that verbal abuse anymore, go through that physical abuse anymore. But now I'm a ward of the state of Texas. Where am I going to live? Who's going to take care of me? That was my mom. And I remember my buddy Dave, he comes across the street and he's like, "Hey, D, chill out, chill out. You got $1?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got $1." He's like, "Let's go to the candy house." And I was like, "I don't much feel like candy, Dave, but okay, let's go." So we go to the candy house, and the candy house lady knew me because, I probably sponsored a couple of her children's college education. And she looks at me and she's like, "Baby, I don't have any Snickers. I don't have any Snickers today." You know, and Dave looks at her and says, "Nah, we don't want Snickers. We want some 40s." And I'm like, "We do?" And he's like, "I got this. I got this." And she was like, "Oh, okay, well, they're $1 and they're in the cooler in the backyard." And so we gave her our dollar, and we go in the cooler in the backyard. And I remember that it was all these adults in her backyard partying, dancing. They were smoking some cigarettes that I never smelt before. And I was like, whoa, like, what is this? Oh my goodness. And I reached in that cooler and I pulled out that 40 ounce of Old English 800. And I think Bill described it perfect in his story. I had arrived. You know, I was a part of life at last. And I just took that 40 ounce and I cracked the seal on that 40 ounce like I saw those grown men in my hood, in my neighborhood do. And I took a big swig of that 40 ounce and I was like, is this what y'all been drinking? Ugh. I mean, it tastes like gorilla pee, man. That like, and now Joe and viewers, look. If you ever see me in person, let's clear this up. I have never drank gorilla pee a day in my life, okay? But I'm sure Old English 800 tastes a lot like gorilla pee. I'm so sure. But even then, something inside of me is like, bro, the hood's watching, everybody's around you. Drink, just drink, drink. Don't embarrass yourself. Drink it like you've been drinking. Drink, 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 drink like you know what you're doing. Drink, drink, drink. And I finished that whole 40 ounce. And my first experience with alcohol and a sense of ease and comfort. My wife's in recovery as well, and she says it so gorgeously when she says, like, it was like I could finally breathe. It was like I was holding my breath that whole time. And once I got that alcohol inside of me, I could finally just breathe. And that was my first experience with liquor at the age of 14.
Yeah, it's it probably didn't realize how tense you were.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
know?
That's
I
it.
mean, a
No clue.
childhood of tension just
Yeah.
and that's the crazy thing I think about, what alcohol and drugs do for people like us. It's just that it's the problem solver. I
Mhm.
always said, Dave, that I didn't have a problem. Alcohol was not my problem, man. It was my solution, Derek.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was a quick fix, quick answer. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, let's get away.
So did you end up being a ward of the state? Did that?
Yeah, and what happened was I kind of fled that life. I lived with a couple of families. One family was a military family. Hoorah! Military. I don't know if you grew up in a military household. Kind of like I started off with alcoholic. Yeah, but that's a whole other thing right there. But I remember he gave me this one little nugget that later on, you know how Bill said, "I'm ominous warning." I felt it. He gave me this. He drew for us this picture of life. He was ex-Marine, and he said, there's a point of error and there's a point of no return. At that point of error, you could, and that's my best boy. I don't want to give his name out there, but he's like, at that point of error, you can make all the mistakes you want. You can shoot as much as you want. You can make all those mistakes. But once you cross that point of no return, everything's accounted for. Every shot you make, every bullet you shoot is accounted for. Every mistake you make is accounted for. Right now, you're in the point of error. So I'm going to let you make these mistakes. And I'll let you know when you cross the point of no return. And I was like, man, I'm getting out of here, bro. I don't want to cross that point of no return. And it's funny because I crossed that point in alcoholism. Like, God dang, like, for real. There was another family I lived with. They were, oh man. I told you my mom grew me up with structure, right? And she didn't really let me participate in any hood activities. So I moved into a family. I lived with a family full of drug selling gangbangers, bro. Like, so, so again, mama's boy into a house full of, mama's little Cabbage Patch Kid into a house full of street wise gangsters, Yeah, that was a different dynamic. I remember crying for my mother at night, hiding in the bathtub, just crying my eyes out because I witnessed things that I was just not okay with, and again, just they were Bloods, and again, I never wanted to be in a gang. Never, like, that was not a part of Derrick's plan in life, to join a gang or be a part of a gang. And but I needed a place to live. I needed a place to stay, and I was just there were so many times it was heartbroken, and after that, I moved in with my cousin, who was my mom's best friend growing up. And I moved in with her, and I was able to finish high school, and from there, gone to get several jobs before I found the career of a lifetime, where I made six figures. Yeah, and without a college education, only, again, like I said, those were little moments I was feeling like, look at me, I could overcome life, like, made it out of the hood myself and built this great future for myself, pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I'm the shining example of you too can make it. Yeah, yeah. But that lasted for a short period. Yeah.
Wow, it's I love how that's got to be scary. That's like, you grew up, especially when your mom passed. I mean, it was so much instability, I guess, that um and then I can imagine when you get this six-figure job, you're like, that's it. I'm good. I'm good,
Yeah, I made it.
Um
We're gonna make it after all,
yeah, yeah, no, I get it. That so was drinking kind of, was it escalating at this point, Derrick, or how was how was that going?
Yeah, and it's amazing because during that time, where I received this wonderful job, I became a father, and with my sons in the house, I would never drink in front of them. I would never, do any outside issues, or, smoke marijuana or anything like that, around my sons. Well, actually, it was my son Caleb and a bonus son, and but when me and his mom split, and that 24/7 being a father, which is, if you would have asked me anything in life I wanted to be when I grew up, it was definitely a father. So when that role was kind of pulled away from me, I didn't have anything to do. And that's when the drinking took off. I can remember going to parties. My cousin had just signed with the Denver Broncos. And again, now, so I'm making six figures. I'm traveling from Denver to Dallas, doing my little thing, hustling, selling and making money and going to more parties, hanging out with local Dallas celebrities, local music artists and everything, and just living that lifestyle. So I'm constantly drinking, constantly partying at a level I've never partied before. I mean, it was like almost, one of my friends described it. He was like, Derrick, you were doing things that rappers rapped about, before they rapped about them. So, that was the lifestyle. That was the ego. That was the lifestyle. Like, I'll show you how to really enjoy life. Very, again, I use my imagination for all the wrong reasons. But I will say this also, when you grow up with that type of trauma, and you never have that type of trauma addressed, alcohol pulls all of that out of you. And when the book says, for example, when it is describing the real alcoholic, and it starts the line and there's a solution, which here is a fellow that has been puzzling you, especially for his lack of control. That hit me so hard because my whole life, as you can hear, I was puzzling myself. Like, why did I do that? How did I get myself in this situation? Like, why did I do that? I said I wasn't going to do that again. And then it goes down slower and says, let him drink for a day. And he becomes disgustingly and dangerously antisocial. That was so true for me because the more I black out, the more blackouts I had, the more I would come to out of those blackouts and found out that I was getting a little more and a little more violent, very violent, and that led up to a lot of, I remember I totaled the car, I totaled my first car in a blackout. And I believe in that situation, I was fleeing an imaginary paparazzi person that was followed. It's something strange like that. I'm telling myself, oh no, this car is following me. I need to get away. And there's nobody following me. Matter of fact, when I was arrested for that DW, there was nobody there. And that put my job into jeopardy. Because, I had a union job at that time. And the only way you could lose that type of job was to get a DWI. So not only did I begin to get a little more violent, the consequences started to build up. And the consequences started to get a little more severe each time. And I wish I could say that slowed me down. But not the real alcoholic, not the real guy. Yeah, that did not slow me down.
Was there anybody in your life at that point who maybe tried to step in or tried to say, "Hey, Derrick, you're a bit out of control." Was there any of that going on?
Yeah, my friends would say things. My friends would say things, that, especially about my rage. They would say things like, Derrick, like, why did you take that so personal, bro? He might be trying to get to work and, he's just cut you off. He's maybe he's trying to get to the hospital. I never could see things like that. I always took things very personal. And there were women in my life who would tell me like, yeah, I saw you spiraling out of control. And my ex-wife, she even told me like, because there's a situation that really got me into the level of incomprehensible demoralization, and which in that situation, I don't know if you want me to say that now, but so it was a blackout situation. Right after I got that DWI, actually, after I got this first DWI, I got out of jail, and me and my ex-wife, we went to, because I also wrecked that car, and me and my ex-wife, we went to buy a new car. Again, money wasn't a thing. I was spending cash money for cars, so I had got a brand new Chrysler 300 and it was pearl white. Oh, it was so beautiful. And she leans over to me and she was like, you stink. And I was like, what? I thought she was saying like my attitude or something like that. She was like, no, you smell like gorilla piss. No, I'm joking. She was like, no, but she was like, she was
Did you
like,
say, how do you know? Did
I
you
know,
drink?
right? I was like, how do you know what that smells like? How do you know what that tastes like, Derrick? How did you find that out, bro? No, no, but she was
Oh,
like, I can smell alcohol coming out of your pores. And I was like, oh man. She was like, I'm embarrassed. I don't even want to touch you. She was like, after this, we're going to go to a spa. And so I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. We go to a spa. And we go to a spa after that. We buy the car, go to a spa. Oh my gosh. What an experience. I'm sweating all this out. Get in the shower, clean. Oh my goodness. I see what she meant by me smelling like, alcohol coming out of my pores. And as a great alcoholic would do, after an experience like that, what I look at her in her face and say is, hey, how about we go get some drinks? And she gives me this look. And, me living with different families, I picked up this great art of reading face. And the look that she gave me said, I can't believe this fool wants to go get something to drink after what just happened, you know? And so I immediately, again, manipulator me. Hey, look, baby, you're so beautiful. Look, fix your face, fix your face. How about I let you pick the drink? And she's like, okay, I'll pick the drink. Okay. So we go to Twin Peaks in Dallas, which is almost like how could I describe that restaurant? Hooters for barbecue. There you go. So we go to there, and the waitress comes up to the table, and I'm getting excited. Alcoholic. You know how that liquor, liquor's coming. The medicine is coming. Baby's gonna get the bottle. So I'm getting that excited, and the waitress said, "What can I get y'all to drink?" And my ex-wife, looks over at her and says, "Can we get a shot of Jack Daniels?" And I'll give her a look that, if you don't know how to read face, that look said, a shot of Jack Daniels? Who in drinking history shares a shot of anything? A shot of Kool-Aid, a shot of water? Like, where in the world do people share a shot of Jack Daniels, right? And she sips the top of the shot off, and I drink the other half of that shot. And the phenomenon of craving just overtook me. You know how the book says, go to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking, drink and stop abruptly? Well, try to stop at half a shot, alcoholic. Try to stop at half a shot. I'm talking about, and that whole weekend, all I could think about was drinking. In Texas, the liquor stores are closed on Sundays. So I couldn't drink on Sunday. But Monday, I knew I was going to have to go to work and tell my boss I got a DWI, right? So what I did instead was I went to work, told him I got a DWI. I saw him cry, right? Because he knew my story. He knew I came from, lost my mom at 14, came through the hood. He knew that I had the best job any man in this country who doesn't have a college diploma would ever want. And I'm about to lose it. I'm about to lose it. And the guy just broke out in tears. And I didn't care because I wanted to drink. All I could think about, the phenomenon was on me that bad. The obsession of the mind was on me that bad. Like, all I could think about was the drink. Oh, I felt it in my spirit. And I bought a handle of Jack Daniels, the big jug of Jack Daniels from a liquor store. And between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, it was maybe a fifth left in that gallon. I mean, I drank and drank and drank. In a blackout, I coming into my apartments, I ran into the guard post that right, that's protecting the key punch. Ran into that, so I there you go, wrecked another car. Again, there's car number two done wrecked at the weekend. My ex-wife comes out, sees I wrecked the car. She's losing it. She's in my face yelling at me. I can't remember anything. It took my ex-wife, my friend Moki, may he rest in peace, and my sister to tell me what happened in this event. And my ex-wife says I pushed her, and I'm not a violent guy, especially when it comes to women. I grew up with sisters, I don't really put my hands on women. But my ex-wife knew enough to know that that's the most violent act I could do towards a woman, and she was a smart girl, and she left. So that moment left me divorced. During this transaction, I remember my friend who lived at the front of my apartments, named Moki. He owed me some money for something I fronted him. So I didn't think it was a bad idea to go to his house with my Glock 9mm and ask him for that money. And I emptied my whole clip at my best friend in a blackout. That gave me a violent criminal record, which left me unemployable. And since it was in the same apartments I lived in, I was evicted because I fired a firearm in a municipal setting, and that left me homeless. So in one swoop, divorced, unemployable, and homeless, all from the phenomenon of craving, you know, and the obsession of the mind. And I did not know I was alcoholic still, even then. You would think that, I would say, oh, wow, I need to stop drinking. you know, no, that was not it. That was not it. That was not it.
Wow. And so, I mean, and there, the blessing that did anyone get hit when you shot?
No,
That's a miracle, man.
yeah, and the blessing even in that was my friend didn't testify. Neither did the lady that called 911 didn't testify. So there was no felony charges that stuck in that situation. But it was a violent misdemeanor that stuck, and that's what left me unemployable. McDonald's don't seem to want to hire a guy that might go off on the fries having a bad day one day like that. I don't blame him. I do not blame him. But yeah, again still didn't think alcohol was the problem. You know.
What did it take to get you where, like what was the turning point, Derrick?
So right after that, being homeless, my sister I was living with kicked me out, and one of my buddies allowed me to live in his trap house. And so I was living in his trap house, and my oldest sister in Victoria, Texas. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Victoria, Texas. If you heard of Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's Victoria, Texas. If you heard of Selena, the Latina star, that's Victoria, Texas. And she was living down there, and she was like, dude, you just got out of state jail fighting for your life for attempted murder charges, and your state jail. You just got out. Let's get you down here because you're throwing rocks at the penitentiary by living in that trap house. So let's get you down here away from that. And I was like, yeah, because I can't stop going to jail in Dallas. Like it's like they got a hit out on the police are just watching me. I need to get out of Dallas. And I get down to small town Victoria, Texas, and everywhere we go, that's where we are. And I call that area management. I tried to move in different areas to manage my life. And so I did this area management to Victoria, Texas, found myself down there one night of blackout drinking, and I love my sisters. I love the women in my family. Blackout drinking. I come to the next morning, and my sister is looking at me pacing the floor. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, You called me and my daughters all out of our names, and you did it with your AK-47 sitting in your lap. We didn't know whether to defend ourselves or what, because you had a gun the whole time. And I didn't remember any of it, you know. And I immediately do what we do. Please, that wasn't me. You know that's not me. Please forgive me, begging. And she said, I'm taking you to AA. And I said, please, I'm sorry. No, don't do that. Did you hear me say please? I didn't know what AA was gonna do to me. You know, it's kind of like, you know, my idea of AA was kind of like going over a friend's house who has a kangaroo as a guard dog. You know, you like, bro, I'm not walking in your house, bro. I don't know what that kangaroo is gonna do to me, bro. Like, it was kind of like that, you know. And, and I remember my first meeting I walked into was August of 2018. And I walk into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I am petrified, stupefied, horrified. You know, the clubhouse I walked into, it smelled like the intake of a jail. You know, jail, kind of that bleachy clean smell. So I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, that smell, I know that smell. You know. And then people start offering me coffee. And I'm like, last time I was offered coffee, Joe, was like in an interrogation room. So I'm like, oh no, I don't want your coffee. You want my DNA. That's what it is. You guys are trying to pin something on me. And they were just so happy, bro. They were just so freaking happy, man. And I couldn't understand that. I'm like, I felt sorry for those happy people because I felt like you guys don't know what just walked into this meeting. You know, this guy with all these black problems just walked all up in y'all meeting, man, and y'all don't even know what's going on, and y'all so happy to see me. Hey, we're happy to see you. We're happy to see you. You know what I'm thinking? Yeah, where are all the black people in this meeting? You know, it's Victoria, Texas. You know, it's not many black people that were in my first meeting, and I was looking for some type of comfort, for something that was gonna make me feel safe. And boy, God knew exactly what to do, bro. He was like, nope, all the black people staying home today. This guy's gonna walk in here by himself. He's not gonna lean on you guys. And I'm glad God set it up that way because, man, I mean, bro, it was just like, man, they were disrespectfully happy, Joe. Joe, they were all in there. Like, I gotta tell you about this happiness, bro. They were like all in my personal space with the happy, you know. that, and
It's the hug. Nobody
yes,
hug. Why are you hugging me? What?
that's it, bro. And again, I don't mind women hugging me, but look, listen, fellas, I will. Next time you guys offer me to come share in your conferences, I will be putting on a workshop, men's workshop on how to hug the newcomer, bro. Because see, this guy walks up to me and he grabs me by the back of my head and like pulls me deep into his chest. It's like, come here, buddy. Like, bro. And I was like, if this guy hugs me one more time, I'm gonna beat the brakes off of him in the parking lot. He does not know me like that. Bring it in, buddy. Come on, buddy. And I'm like, all right, all right. You know, that back of the head you know that that type of hugging, bro. I just never experienced that much love from strangers ever in my life. You know, even the families that I live with, they didn't embrace me like the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous embraced me when I first came in, and I really leaned on that, and I leaned on it too long, too long, too long. I was suffering during that time because I didn't do what you guys suggested, which was get a sponsor, you know, go through the 12-step process, connect with a God of your understanding, and help somebody. You know, I just jumped into the helping somebody phase of it. And that was way too like way too I liked that part, you know, and I didn't ever grow. I didn't ever grow, and I suffered. If anybody's listening, I suffered because I did not know what I was suffering from. I did not know what alcoholism was. I think in We Agnostic, it says, in the preceding chapter, you have learned something of alcoholism. I had learned nothing of alcoholism. And I suffered because I did not know what it is to suffer from alcoholism. And July 17th, 2020 was the day I picked to be my death date. I was sick and tired of living. I felt like if there was a God, he felt like I was pretty bad, you know. But I didn't know God was giving me a gift at that time. And July 17th, I was dry firing that same AK-47 in the roof of my mouth. My sister heard the recoil of the gun echoing on the walls, and she thought I was beating on the walls, and she immediately kicks me out of the house, which is great because I was just building up the courage to do it. And after that, I was playing chicken with 18-wheelers on Highway 59 in Victoria, Texas. I was really trying to exit this earth. And one of the members from Victoria's AA saw me, and he pulls over. And like, that's why I said God was so in control that day. God was like, you think you're in control? You think you have the power to say when you're going to leave this earth? Yeah, I'm going to show you. So he sees me, he pulls over, and he says, I went through 5 different emotions when I saw him. He said, first I was happy. He said, then I went into like this manic state. He said, then I went into sad. Then I went into depressed. Then I went on to full on rage, you know, and I threatened him. I told him if he didn't get out of there, I was going to F him up. And he said he drove off to go get the Calvary. I knew that. So I went to a park, slept in the park, and God sent an angel about 3:00 in the morning that put the fear of God in me. That angel came in the form of a good old Texas wood rat, and it ripped through my arm about 3:00 in the morning. I woke up in a full panic. I didn't know what was going on. And to see a wood rat running away from me after I just felt that type of pain rip through me while I was in a stupor. I was tired of living life, man. I went to a meeting on July 18th of 2020 just to see one of the nurses that attended our meeting. We had a meeting in the park. It was during COVID, and I went and I saw the guy who became my sponsor. His name's Brian. Brian passed away in October of 2023. Rest in peace, Brian. And I saw him walk across the park right as I'm getting ready to share. And I shared about, me picking up another chip, It was like God paralyzed that liar in me finally, That constitution was just ripped apart at that moment. And I was just like, hey, I need help. I can't do this. I can't do this. And Brian approached me after the meeting, and Brian I say it like this. Brian moseyed on over to me because Brian was a good old boy, man. Cowboy hat, belt buckle, cowboy boots, and he moseyed on over there to me, And he was like, hey, Derrick. And I was like, what up, Brian? He was like, I bet you didn't know Mickey Mouse could get that violent, did you? And I'm like, what? Like, bro, too soon, bro. It just happened last night, man. And then he lays probably the realest thing I heard, man. That man, we, here in AA, bro, we make this music, this music that touches the soul. We talk about the banjo and the cello, man, but AA has this music, this song that can get straight to your heart. And once it hits your heart, it plays in your mind over and over and over on repeat. And I'll never forget Brian telling me, he was like, hey, Derrick, I've been seeing you come to the meetings, make that diarrhea coffee you're making, Try to chair meetings drunk. I seen you try to do it, man. It's almost like driving drunk, bro. I don't, we could tell. We could tell. Everybody around can tell you're drunk, bro. you know. And he was like, but I'm gonna tell you this, man. You're just too sick. You are too sick to rely on the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous to keep you sober alone, bro. You're just too sick. He was like, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna end up dying, and it ain't gonna be the way you think it's gonna look like. And that just broke me. I mean, that's what it took. I tell people this, man. For a guy that's as willful as I am, that's been through all that in life and still able to overcome certain obstacles, the best gift God could give me is for me to be broken, man. I had to be broken. And Brian said the exact words, to break me, so I can accept the other gift that comes with the gift of desperation. And that's the gift of being ready. At that moment, I was ready. How I know I was ready? He said, all right. I was like, will you sponsor me? He was like, yeah, call me at 7:30 tomorrow morning and we'll see about it. We'll talk about it. And the next morning, 7:29, 58 seconds, 7:30, ring. And he said, well, he called me at 7:30. I guess we're supposed to do this thing. And we went through that process. And I tried to live that day like it's the last chance I'll ever get to be sober. I wake up every single day like that, and I insist on enjoying life, you know.
Absolutely. When when you talked about a Texas wood rat, I was like, does he mean like a real rat? Like, and then when Brian said to Mickey, I'm like, that's a real rat.
That's a real rat. We call them wood rats because they come out of the woods and they're about the size of a cat.
Wow.
Yeah, they're big. They're big.
Yeah. The other thing that you said in it, a friend of mine always says it's in the book, says, we get beaten into a state of reasonableness, and I always like to think, God, as I understand God, likes to work with empty vessels, and we have to be broken so that we can be filled up with good,
Yes, there's a Japanese art called Kudasaji or something like that. And what it is it takes a broken vase and uses gold to mend it and make it a whole new sculpture. And I think that's what happens to everybody that enters the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. We come in broken, and God just uses gold to mold us into a whole entirely different, beautiful sculpture. And I think that's the gift of being broken. Yeah, that is the biggest gift of it.
I know. I truly think we become, through that process and through an ongoing process, we become the people we were intended to be. This is the person you were intended to be. And when you were talk about, like saying to your sister, like, I'm not that guy. Well, you're not. But man, you put alcohol in me, you put alcohol in you, and we are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
The real Dr. Jekyll and
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde, that was a fictional story, but we become the real version of that. And it's almost scary, like nightmarish, to think that that person can actually walk the earth.
It's so what was it like early on, like that first year? What were some of the struggles that you went through?
The first year, I would say the biggest struggle was really being afraid to to find work. And when I said be afraid to find work, because there was some good stuff happening. Like that was a full surrender right there. Like when I say surrender, I was like, I don't care what happens, God. Like if you want me to shave my head off bald and become a Buddhist monk in the Tibetan mountains, that would be the best thing that ever happened in my life. If you want me to be homeless for the rest of my life, as long as I got you, God, I'm okay with that. And with that type of surrender, good things happen. Like, because I didn't know what to do with my life. I didn't have any goals or any ambitions. I was just being guided and directed by God. And so good things started happening. So, like I said, there was offers for, I was a part of a national troubleshooting team at one of at the college, at Victoria College, and we actually won first place. So with that, like I was getting job offers from like again, 6-figure job offers from like chemical plants, nuclear plants, and things like that. And I'm like scared now because I'm like, I remember what happened last time I got this type of money. Like, I don't want money. Get away from me, money. Like, what are you doing trying to throw yourself at me? Back off, and I would say like that was the biggest thing. And all this success was going on around me. Like, after we won that championship, I'm like, newspaper are trying to interview, and the radios and TV is like, hey guys, you guys did great. And here I am like, like, oh no, I'm trying to hide from the press, radio, and film, like, get away, like back off, like, and so a lot of good stuff started happening. But that fear allowed me to maintain this neutrality about it, you know, and this humbleness about it. Cause again, I was like, God, I don't know what to do with this, you know? And at the time me and my wife were friends, and I told her, I was like, I think I want to become an electrical engineer. And she was like, yeah, why don't you come here to Atlanta, and you could, go to school down here, maybe, stay with me so you don't have to get a dorm, and we'll just see how that works out, and we'll move in that energy. And so I loved her at that point. And so I was like, okay, we'll do that. And so I moved from Victoria to Atlanta, and that's kind of when that was after my first year. Actually, I moved to Victoria and Atlanta. That was our first time seeing each other, face to face. So we were forced. You know how some people suggest you don't date for a year. We were kind of forced to work our programs, get through the process, really connect with God. Really connect with God. She was doing it, I was doing it, and I'm grateful we did it that way, because now God is the center of our relationship. And and like I said, from that point, I was blessed to retire. I was blessed to retire, so I'm currently retired. And also, I'm a homeowner, as you can see. And a real homeowner, not mortgage home, a real homeowner. And those were the things God did for me. I'm a criminally record violent drunk, who gave up on life. And through that, I did a full, complete surrender. Full, complete, absolute surrender, all, there falling down that bottomless pit that we call rock bottom, when you're drunk, you can't tell the difference between flying and falling, right? Right. But I could clearly see I was falling. And every time I thought I hit rock bottom, up to that point, I was actually just banging my head on those ledges as I was falling down. I never quite hit rock bottom. I think for a guy like me, the real alcoholic, rock bottom is death, you know, for a guy like me, Other than that, what I'm feeling is just banging my head against the ledges, like bang, bang, and having God just snatch me so quickly out of those pits that I forget about it, you know. But I'm grateful, because again, I needed that journey to really appreciate where I'm at in life today. and really enjoy it and really get committed to this process and living this process and seeking God in everything. I'll say this real quick. It was almost like, when I made that full surrender, God came to me with it like the Godfather, like, I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. Like, like Neo in the Matrix, you could go back down that road, but you know what's down that road versus a life so good. A life so good. And I don't know who needs to hear this. Like, God offer you a life so good that you could never imagine. And he has something perfectly designed for you, custom made for your thumbprints, and it's a, we call it a wholesale miracle, but it's a miracle specifically designed for you. Your fit, your height, your energy, your strength. And the better your joy, all depends on how great you surrender.
And that is so beautifully said, Derrick. I mean, it's and when you're talking about the bottoms, I know for me, like I managed to lower my standards to match my drinking. You know what I mean? It's just and I never heard it quite said the way you said it, where it's like we're just hitting our head on the way, and really rock bottom is death. I mean, that is really true. That's how a lot of us who are still out there, will end up if we don't do something different.
Yeah. And that's what I realized. In Bill's story, he said, one of the last things that left him was his pride. And I know exactly what that feels like, because once my pride was gone, I was out of there. You know how I forgot the name of that movie, but this guy, he was going through a sad moment. I think it was basketball or something like that. And he was driving, and on the radio had started telling him everything he was going through. Like, it was like that happened for me that day. It was like, that day I was, man, July 17th was a tough day, bro. Like, 50 Cent came on the radio with a song called Wankster. Like, and that was an old song by then, And in that song, it said, dang, homie, in high school, you were the man, homie. What happened to you? And I was like, he's talking to me. What is he? In high school, I was the man. Like, what happened to me? Now I'm the neighborhood drunk. I'm a bum. Oh no, what happened to me? And it was like that just kind of, man, that just turned to set the tone for that day. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that day, because again, it showed me that trusting and relying on God, like Dr. Bob suggested and Bill suggested, like, that wasn't a suggestion. That was wisdom. Like, that was like, yo, bro, like, literally, if you do this, bro, beyond your wildest dreams, like, they weren't just saying that to fill up space in a book. Like, no, that was wisdom. That was actually like, yo, if you totally surrender to it, it was like, and it should be easy for you because you have one problem. One problem. And that one problem is lack of power. And since you don't have the power to do it, seek the power always, and trust the power has your best interest at hand. And remarkable things will happen for you, bro. And I was like, whoa, okay. But yeah, we had to clear out some stuff. The inventory. Oh, that was major. Inventory. Whoa, yeah. Yeah, that the inventory process was definitely I would say this. Alcohol broke me, but that fourth step really broke me. There's another there's an AA speaker that likes to say a well whooped ass, right? And I will say the fourth step whooped my butt. It told me a new one. I had never looked at myself in that way before and from those angles before, and the way the fourth step did me was, if there was anything left in me after alcohol beat me, the fourth step beat the rest of it out. It really did. Imagine this: it beat it out of me so much I did the eighth and the ninth step. That's how bad it beat out of me. Yeah, that's how I know if you really got your butt tore up at the fourth and the fifth. If you do your eighth and the ninth step, that's how I know. Yeah, bro. Oh, you got a whooping, huh? Yeah, I know what that's like.
Well, and that's the cool thing is that process, those steps are, you do that and it's designed to put us back together and make us whole, and make us better, than like I said, the person that we were intended to be, you know. Um but what is what would you say to somebody who may be listening out there, Derek, who thinks they're beyond hope?
Uh, Welcome to Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, bro, everybody in the rooms, and I know that's hard to believe because it was hard for me to believe. Everybody in the rooms from Bill Wilson, from Ebby Thatch, from men of the Oxford group, all the way to you, whoever you are, for me, whoever I am. Like, we did not think this thing was going to work for me. I did not think this kid from the hood, this boy from the hood, could ever be happy, ever be useful, ever find peace in a world where most guys that look like me and come from my background end up in jail or dead, you know, and to now have a whole new way of living where I'm living a dream I've never dreamed before, and God is making it come true. Like, and I know that sounds far-fetched to somebody who might be homeless at this moment or who might be unemployable at this moment, but if you could just surrender to whatever that power is out there that has nothing but your best interest at heart and does not want you to continue killing yourself with drugs and alcohol, that's the biggest look. That power loves you. I'm telling you, man. I didn't think God could ever love me. And I found out that God loves me more than I'll ever realize. Like, again, like the love, and he showed me by the physical examples of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, he showed me through y'all, like, living example. There was a time where you guys allowed me to go to a area assembly, and I thought y'all sent me down there so I could babysit our GSR, because I had heard he had stole some money out the Seven Tradition a while back, and he paid y'all back. So y'all didn't want him to steal a credit card. That's what I was thinking in my mind. I was like, yeah, I'm the security of the group. They made me security. And later on, I found out that y'all sent me down there because y'all knew I was sleeping on the floor, and sleeping on my sister's couch. And y'all let me sleep in the bed that weekend because y'all thought it would be cool for me to sleep in the bed. And y'all didn't ask for any money from me, or make me pay, or y'all fed me and let me sleep in the bed that weekend. And y'all also were grooming me for service too, you know? I can see that now. But then I was like, no, I'm the bodyguard of the But that's the fellowship, man. And that's the fellowship I want to be there for every newcomer, man. And that's why I show up. I make sure that, anytime the fellowship asks me to do anything, I jump at it. I'm there, yeah, you're going to yeah, Derrick will be there, fellowship, you know, cause yeah, like I said, I want people to see the love of God through Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's my responsibility to be that physical hug, to be to be that bring it in, buddy. I'm not gonna grab the back of your head, bro, or sis without meeting, but I feel like I should.
Oh, you definitely, you are such a wonderful representative of what God can do, and what this program can do, man. And I appreciate you, taking the time to share your story. It means a lot.
Thank you for inviting me, man. It was a good time.
I've enjoyed it. Now I can't let you go though without doing our rapid fire questions, Derrick.
Let's go.
No pressure.
Set the timer. Here we go.
All right, set the timer.
Hand over the buzzer. Hand over the buzzer. Here we
go. Are you ready, sir?
Let's go.
All right. What is your favorite recovery slogan?
My favorite recovery slogan is "To thine own self be true." Yeah.
What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
Don't drink and go to meetings.
Is your sobriety superpower?
My sobriety, probably love, man. Love, dude.
If you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
Don't give up. Just keep going, man. Just keep going. Don't give up. And you matter. And you matter, man. Yeah, that was a big thing I discovered in my 4th step, that I believed that no one cared about me. Yeah, bro. People care, bro. Don't give up. People care. People love you, bro. Keep going.
I love that. What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
Oh man, it's a song called "Safe and Sound," and I imagine it's God singing it to me. I forgot the name of the group, but it's like, I can lift you up, I can show you where you want to be. Yeah. Like, I imagine that's God singing that to me.
I like that. If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
Just continue to search for joy in the journey. Like, you guys taught me I can find joy in the darkest situations. So if I could just remember that, dude, there's joy in this somewhere, bro. Just look for it. Yeah.
What step do you love the most?
4th, come on, bro. 4th, bro. Like, yes, dude. Like, ain't nothing like it. There's a genius in that 4th step, man. Ain't nothing like it. I've never experienced nothing like the 4th step of Alcoholics Anonymous on this planet. Nothing like it. Nothing like it. Yeah.
What step do you love the least?
Step do I love the least? If I'm going to be honest, there's times the 12th step would be the hardest, because again, alcoholics are heartbreaking, man. They're really, really heartbreaking. So there's times, it's hard for me to answer the phone, and look, there's times I'm powerless to answer the phone. So I have to pray before I answer the phone to get the power to deal with what's on the other side of the phone. So yeah.
What is one of your favorite movies?
One of my favorite movies is probably The Usual Suspect.
Nice one.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Kaiser Sose, bro.
Yeah. And finally, Derrick, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done. And do you want to do it again? Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go. Man, thank you so much, man. I've really enjoyed our time together, man. So thank you.
Right back at you, Joe, man. Thank you so much for your service to the fellowship in the community, the recovery community, and thank you for the invite as well, man.
Of course, man. It's been an honor. It really has. And for the rest of you guys out there, please subscribe to our friends at thedailyponderables.com, your recovery source for inspiration and encouragement every day. A new episode of The Cup of Joe Show is released every Thursday at noon. Visit thecupofjoeshow.net, or you can listen to the show on your favorite podcast apps, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the "the." Please like, follow, subscribe, and share because someone out there needs to hear this today. Have a good day, everybody.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's experience, strength, and hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to The Cup of Joe Show.